Jamie Shack, man. Thank you for coming on, bro. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.
Honestly, the pleasure is mine, mate. Honestly, I really do appreciate you coming on, helping the podcast out. How was your weekend? 2-1 versus City.
Yeah, not going into the weekend, not really a result that many expected, but a win's a win, and against them it's even better, yeah.
What was it like going into the game before? Obviously, like you said, not many people expecting you to win, but how do you go into every game? Do you go into every game like obviously wanting to win 3 points all the time?
Definitely, yeah. I think that's kind of been like drilled into us now, to go in with that attitude, and before the game we'd come off the back of a couple of good results, so we could sort of go in like
Bit more confident.
yeah, a bit confident, a bit more, a bit less pressure if you feel like.
What's it like having to like proper plan for a team like City? With obviously they're such a huge club. The level of talent, the players that they've got at their disposal. Pep Guardiola.
Well, we plan as good as we can, but obviously, come game day, like you have to be.
You have to
bang
be on it. Yeah.
If you have an off day, or it's not gonna happen for you because they've got that much quality, like you say.
You can't make any mistakes, and
Nah.
that literally proved it. Literally 2 shots, 2 goals, and that's how clinical you have to be against a team like City. And as well, like the red card as well, that made it especially difficult for the last half of the game.
Yeah, going into half time, like a lot of people, I was on the bench thinking it's gonna be a tough.
Not going to be
half.
an easy game.
No, we're not gonna control the second half, if you like, but we did what we had to do, and like you said, 2 shots and 2 goals, and come away with a win.
What was it like in the dressing room after?
Wasn't probably the biggest like result of our season. So
Yeah, definitely, I'd say so.
the biggest team would be 100%. Yeah, we've had some good performances and picked up a point against some other big sides, but they're top of the league, flying, and to take all 3 points.
I mean, they've only lost 4 times this season as well, so very, very impressive, especially at the Etihad as well. What's the season been like for you in general? Like, obviously, you exceeded probably most normal fans' expectations. You're on the same points as Arsenal. Normally, like teams that come up, the goal mark is, if we get 40 points, we're going to be all right. But you've already got 45 points. So, what was the team's expectations going into the season? Did you expect yourselves to do so well, or have you kind of exceeded your own expectations?
Yeah, like you said, I think every team that comes up from the Championship, like the first thing is to get safe. But you don't really think like that going into each game. It's just focus on that game, and get 3 points or point or whatever we can from that game, and then see where we are at the end of the season. But I think to begin the season, I think before you, as a team, just been promoted, the key is to make sure you're in the division again. Yeah.
And so, what now? Obviously, now you've obviously secured your place in the league again. Like, what is a realistic expectation for you to finish the season now?
So we've got 7 games left, I think.
Got some tough games up. You've got Liverpool and then Man United.
Yeah, the next two are tasty, and then I think we've also got Spurs to play as well. But we beat them at the weekend away, so we're just going to go into each game going for 3 points, and 21 points up for grabs. And if we can get as many of them as we can, we could finish top half.
I think top half, mate. You're not even far off Europa. I know. You probably don't want to be thinking that, and it is pressure. But the way the league is, the Premier League is the craziest league going out there. I think you're only maybe 5 or 6 points, if that, off of 6th or 7th place.
Yeah, I saw a stat the other day saying we've won as many games as Liverpool and Spurs and scored more goals than Chelsea or something like that, something mad. So it is.
It's crazy. I'm a Man United fan. I'm not sure if you are aware of
No,
that, but I've been in Leeds for 3 years, so like Leeds is the first place I've moved away from. That I've got so much love for Leeds, and I think for a lot of football fans as well, like watching Leeds is just so good because there's never a dull game. Like that, you always give your 100%. The game is always interesting, and I think that's probably what's won over a lot of fans this season as well. From obviously people that don't support Leeds, is that you give in your utmost in every single game up until the last minute, and it makes you an interesting team to watch.
Yeah.
What's it been like the last 3 years working under Bielsa? Obviously, everyone knows his crazy work ethic and the crazy training sessions. Like, what's it been like the last 3 years to work under him?
Yeah, so I sort of like came into the first team in the manager's like first year. So he sort of gave me my breakthrough season and first team minutes.
Did he come and chat to you before when he first joined?
As a team, not so much like individuals, but he spoke to the group, and this is what we're going to do, and this is the plan, and how we're going to play, and this sort of thing, and different types of training to what a lot of people are used to. But he didn't so much speak to me as an individual, but as a team we were all aware of where we was going as a group.
For sure. What's the actual training like? Like I said, a training day like? It's very intense, as I can imagine. Like I said before, you're probably one of the fittest teams in the league, if not the fittest team in the league. What's it like to work under such high intense pressure every single training game?
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier, it's like it depends on what day of the week it is. So like I said, the middle of the week will be tougher sessions. We've got, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Murder Ball.
Murder Ball, I have heard, but do you want to care to explain to the viewers what Murder Ball is?
I'm sure the Leeds fans will be aware of this already, but it's like 11v11 game, full pitch, with like balls all around the outside. So if the ball goes out, there's one straight back in. So there's no rest really, and it's like it's carnage really. Like it's just end to end football. So you attack and you defend. There's no like
non-stop.
There's no like sitting back and sort of like putting a block on the edge of the box or anything like that. It's just like full throttle. You attack, we attack. It's like a basketball game.
I can imagine. Is that for? Do you do two halves, like two normal halves, or it's like a full length time?
Nah, it's like we'll do shorter bits. So like say we'll do 5 minutes at a time, but then a break and then again. But it's I
can imagine.
You couldn't do much more than 5 minutes. Put it that way.
What's it like? Obviously, you've been at the club for so long through all the academy. How have you seen Bielsa change the cultural shift at the club? Because obviously before you had a spell of, I think it was like 10 or 11 managers in about the same amount of time, and obviously he's come and changed the club around. Maybe not in the first season, but it basically did it in the first season, and you can tell there was a massive shift and change. What was the change that you could see?
So obviously before him I was like building up to first team football and 23s, 18s, so I couldn't see inside the first team mentality and that sort of thing. But from a point of like our group, I think, like I said, from the first day that he came in and set out how we was going to play, and it is a completely different, as you can see on the pitch, it's a completely different way of playing to anyone else. I think once that was installed into us, I think the first season, you could see it worked and things were going well, and then the second season in the Championship, once we had more time to work on things,
it sort of clicked more.
It was even better, and that's what got us to winning the league by the margin we did. Well,
that's great to know. So I wanted to know who is the best player that you've trained with at the club? Who is like the player's player?
Trained with, talent wise for me is Pablo Hernandez. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What he's done, especially at the age that he is ridiculous.
Yeah. Like I said, I've only seen him from probably 33 onwards, so. And I'm saying, he's the best I've seen, so it'll have been frightening.
Is he someone that you look up to, especially like being in your position? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Going forward, he can pick a pass. His vision, he just sees things that a lot of people can't.
So you talk about obviously being such a tight knit group and being so close. Who would you say is the closest group? Couldn't get my words out then. Who would you say are the closest group of your mates in the group, and what do you think helps gel that team together to be so united?
We're quite a small squad, like compared to other. If you look at other Premier League squads, it is very, very small. So I think that obviously helps. If you've got a large group of players, it's obviously automatically more difficult for everyone to get along, if you like. But we're quite a small group, and everyone does get along really well. On the pitch, we understand each other, but also off it, like everyone. I can't say a bad word about anyone in the team.
Do you have like not meetings, but like do you all meet up outside of the ground, and what do you do to like do for team bonding and stuff?
Well, not this year.
Not
For the
this
past
year.
year we haven't.
Not even though like you're training together and you're working together, could you still not mix?
No, not really. Like even though to start with, it's a bit obviously more relaxed now with the way things are going. But to start with, when we first got back from COVID, and obviously we could train together and think that was fine, but we couldn't be like within a certain distance of someone for so long, even during training. So I remember one time in training, I was marking, I can't remember what it was, I was marking someone, and in like a training game, a murder ball, and then after I got told that I'd spent too much time near that person. So like, not next time, not to like mark them as tight or just try distance it a bit.
How does that make any sense? I can imagine obviously with how much money is involved in all these clubs and being in the Premier League and making sure that these games had to go ahead. Like I can imagine they were pretty strict on everything. Were you given like weekly tests to make sure that everything was all right?
Yeah. Since the first week we started back training, which was probably last May.
See that's what baffles me. Like if you've all got negative tests and you're all right, then why can't you mix? Especially if you're training and playing together. It's not like you're going to be like you're in the dressing room together. It's not like you can socially distance as much as you can, but really and truly, it's very hard to get by. What's it been like to play with no fans and no atmosphere?
To start with, very strange. Like the games once we came back in the championship season, I think we had like I think we had 8 or 9 left. 9 I think it was, and they were obviously huge games. We were top of the league and needed to win to go up. And once we came back and there was no fans, it was kind of like they're obviously so important, these games, absolutely huge, like some of the biggest in the club's like recent history.
For sure.
But there, like just before kick-off, it felt
eerie.
Eerie, and not like it wasn't as important. Obviously, nobody played like that, and it's not how you see it once the game starts. But before, I remember sitting and thinking like this is really weird. Like it doesn't feel like it should do. Like
you're missing the whole build up and the whole fans waiting outside, coming in with the team bus. You got everyone shouting outside. It's a huge difference.
It's all part of like the match day thing.
The feeling.
Yeah.
What's it like now though? So have you gotten kind of used to it because obviously it's gone on for so long?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like once we get fans back in, I think to start with that'll feel pretty
weird.
That'll be like, oh, and then playing in front of a full crowd again, that'll be a relief because it's
the best feeling. I can imagine.
But at the same time, it might after this long feel pretty weird again. Yeah.
Do you think the no fans has changed the pace of the game? Because I feel like from a football point of view, from a fan point of view, I've seen games before like where you'll see a team and the pace of the game is just so slow. But normally in those situations, when the pace of the game has slowed down, you normally get the fans either booing or riling up just to try and make it go a bit quicker. So I was wondering from your side of things, how do you think it's changed the pace of the game?
I think teams like still try to play the same way. I think the no fans thing more than anything affects like probably like players and teams like confidence and stuff. You know what I mean? If things aren't going your way in a game,
there's no one there to like help the support that, or even I can imagine when you're 1-0 up, especially being a smaller club, when you're at the bigger teams, and when you're at the Etihad, I can imagine the Leeds fans would have been screaming the whole game, and obviously you were good enough to battle through it, but I can imagine for a lot of teams they struggle to keep that momentum.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's like the flip side of it, like if there's like mistakes, some fans might get on like the players back or the team's back and come on, or like booing, etc. Like so, some teams might like react better to that, not having that, and can just mistakes done, get on with it and move on. There's none of that, so that may help in a way, but no, definitely lacking the roar and like encouragement from crowds.
So I want you to talk to me about your whole journey, literally being in the academy. When did you join the Leeds academy?
I was age
7, so pretty young. So what was that journey like? How did you start getting into playing football? Like what were your inspirations?
So I played, well, firstly in the playground at school. I used to play. All my mates were like in the year above, so I was like, yeah, come on, just kick it about, see what we've got, and then found that I was all right. They was like, come down and train for the local team, which is for me was Kippax Athletic. So I went down, trained with them, played with them for a few years, or 2 years. But in my second year, I had to go back down to my normal age group for some reason. There was some sort of rules where I couldn't play with the age above. So I went back down to my own age group, and that's where I got like scouted by Leeds.
It was just a normal game.
It was like the Galas. Playing them. Yeah, there was one of them. They was the best. They're my best football memories. Playing at the Galas.
Free, no pressure, just playing it for the love of the game.
Just game after game, and in between games, getting your hair sprayed and going on the bounce castle. That was, they're my best football memories. But I got scouted at one of them by Leeds, and there was like a couple of other local teams. I think like Bradford and Huddersfield, like the local teams. All got to the Galas to watch the games.
Were you scouted by them as well? Was it just
there
Leeds?
was like come train with us.
And you always had Leeds in your heart.
I'm a Leeds fan, so once I heard Leeds were like interested, I wanted me to come train with the youth team. I was like, yeah, I'm going there.
No brainer, really.
No brainer for me. So I joined there, like I said, age 7, 8, under 8s. Trained, and then once we got to under 9s, you can sign like your first proper like deal, sort of.
Tell me, how was that feeling when they said to you, I want you to sign? Obviously you were still so young, but
yeah, age 9, it's like it's like crazy. Like, well, I'm signing for me, for my team. Like, it's brilliant. Obviously it's just to train and play games. And at that point, it's nowhere, you're nowhere near.
When it gets serious, yeah.
Yeah, it's still very much for fun. Do you know what I mean? So I signed there and then worked my way through the age groups. Really, wasn't all like playing, playing sailing. Yeah, like I had a few knockbacks, and so like under 10s or under 11s, I think it was. They told me at the start of the season that I was going to play a year down with the younger lads, and
was that difficult to accept?
Yeah. I remember. Like, I think I cried in the car after to my mum. I was like, why are they doing that? Like, I'm not good enough and stuff like this. But they said it was due to like size. So I'm not the biggest of players, but back then, for my age, I was really small. So they did this to like
obviously help you out.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you don't think, you just think the worst case scenario. You're like, oh, I've been dropped.
Yeah, I'm 10 years old. I'm thinking, that's it. Like,
especially as a kid, everything's so much more overwhelming.
Exactly. Yeah. So they did that and then played down for a year, and then I think the year after that, I played up a year. So I didn't actually play my own age.
So you skipped a year.
Yeah. So I played down a year, and then the year after. So I went from playing under 9s football to playing under 11s football, like, because playing down for the year had done me that much good. Like, I'd gained so much confidence and
stood out a little bit as well. Yeah,
stood out, and I was like, yeah. So then the next year they put me in the age above, which was like mad.
At one point did you At what point did you realise? When was that moment when you started to see that things were getting a bit more serious?
Like every year, I think from 9s to 10s, you get a new contract, or there might be 2 years or something like that. But you don't really think, or I didn't really think about it at that age. You was just going and playing. But then,
because of your age, was it more that side of things was more spoken about to your parents, sort of thing?
Yeah, probably so. Just leave us to it and that sort of thing. But then I'd say sort of like under 15s, 16s, so like you come into the end of high school, and that's when you start hearing about people getting scholarships, which is what you start.
It's like the make or break that age.
Yeah. So like that's once you finish high school, you go into your scholarship, and that's like your full-time job kind of thing. So from age like 14, 15, people could be getting offered these, and a few in our age group were getting offered them, and people starting to think like, well, like,
when's it happening?
Yeah, what's going on here? Like this is getting quite serious. So I'd say that age is when you start to realise that it's more like you need to fight for your place than.
Was it also as well at that age you started to realise that there's obviously when you're younger you're just playing football and you're just doing like kind of basic training because you don't really know too much more. Is that when like you really started to make the difference, like changing your diet, making sure you were eating better, or changing the training routines that you were doing just to give you that extra edge?
Yeah. But they make you aware of that at the club. So as you're going up through the age groups, as you come to that sort of age, there's like little workshops and that sort of thing they put on to make you aware of what these top professional athletes are doing. They're eating, how much they're sleeping, and all that sort of thing, just so at a young age you can get into your head what sort of habits you need to get into.
What's it like being like obviously high school ages, like everyone's going out, a lot of people like start drinking at a young age, you're just going out to parties. What's it like when you're at such a young age when everyone around you is enjoying their fun, if you like, and going out and partying, but in order for you to be successful, in order to be in the role, your dream role, playing football for your boyhood team, how hard is that to struggle with, and what helped you get through those situations where you weren't tempted by all the distractions?
Yeah, I think obviously at that age, it's like 14, 15, 16, back end of high school, I did miss out on a lot of things, so I still got to do things. I wasn't completely, isolated from my friends and like the normal life, but there was a lot of things that I couldn't do or wouldn't do, like you say, in terms of drinking and stuff like that. Like a few of my mates were like started drinking like 14, 15, and I was like, I can't do that. Like,
how hard is it like to actually like did you ever get to a moment where you were thinking, were you always zoned in focus? I know I'm gonna be straight on, and even though there are all these distractions, I'm gonna make the sacrifices. Or did you ever have moments where you were tempted to be like, is it worth it?
I didn't have those moments actually, but I think a big thing that helped me was a couple of my friends. So two of my best mates, at the time they played for Barnsley and Huddersfield, so they were like in very similar boats to me, and they were doing exactly the same things as me. And the fact that they, weren't going that way either, I was just like, yeah.
It helped. It made it easier when there are other people in and around your age group.
So I didn't really have those moments where I thought, I'd much rather be doing that than this. Because
was there anyone else in your circle apart from your mates around the same age that were like say your parents, that were like helping you be more straight on and helping you stay motivated and stay focused on what you had to do?
Do you mean like friends? Like,
yeah, friends or like family members. Was there anyone that was helping you all the way?
All my family have always been so supportive.
You got a big family?
Well, living with me at the time was my mum, my sister and my little brother, and the amount my mum did to make sure I was going training on time, and bearing in mind she got two of her kids, the job that she did was crazy.
Mums are so. I always shout out my mum. My mum. It's crazy how much they actually do for they put everything else that you could ever think of before themselves.
Mad the job she did. Even my sister wanted to be, or not wanted to be, but wanted to try out some what do they call it? Dancing.
Dancing on ice?
No, what do they call it? A ballerina.
Oh yeah, ballet, yeah.
Yeah, she wanted to do this sort of thing, and gymnastics and go that sort of way. But I remember that the nights that the classes were the same as my training nights. So I think she genuinely didn't get a chance to go to it because I was already tied into going here, and my mum was in the schedule of taking me there, so she didn't have any way to get there. So like she could never go down that path because of what I was doing. So like she kind of had to give that up and give things that her friends were probably doing up because my mum was off taking me here. Like
family make the sacrifice. Are you close to your sister now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really close. Yeah.
That's good then. That's all that matters.
No, she doesn't hold it against me. Just when she wants something.
I can imagine.
That's
yeah.
when she'll go. Yeah, but I could have been like a top ballerina now. I'm not because of you.
What's it like now? Obviously, being in a Premier League club, and obviously, I wouldn't say have you become the carer for your family, but I can imagine there is some sort of an element where you are now in a position to help your family at such a young age.
Yeah.
What's that like, being able to sort out your family? Because that's the one thing that I dream of being able to just like, do you know what, Mum? Have a house, have a car. Do you know what I mean? Just little stuff like that. I can imagine it's a fulfilling feeling, especially like you said, if your mum and even your sister made so many sacrifices for you to be able to give back.
Yeah, it's massive. Like being able to pay them. Like now I've got to where I am, I can look back and be like, yeah, I am kind of only here doing what I'm doing because of all that what happened back then. Because like I could have had the talent or the work ethic and stuff like that, but if I couldn't have got to training because no one couldn't take me, then I wouldn't be here. So like you said, to be able to be in a position where I can pay them back and help them out is massive. Yeah.
So talk me through that first season when you broke through into the first team. What was that like? Was it in pre-season? Did you go on pre-season with them?
Yeah. So we came back for pre-season and I was just like thrown in with the first team. There was a few lads like my sort of age who obviously they thought might be like capable of training with the first team. So there might have been like 4 or 5 of us. So we went wild in there. A group of like 4 or 5 of us who got thrown into training and played the mid-ball sessions.
Did you notice, obviously, like I said, you've obviously you've not struggled with your size, but like I said, it's happened before where you were put down. Did you struggle with that moving into the first team, and did you have to do many extra sessions to get back up to a good size, or how was it, obviously being like so young as well? You're literally being thrown into the senior team where, like I said, you've got people that are in their 30s and you're mixing in with them.
Yeah, I think by that age, so I was like 18 at that time when I first trained with the first team. I think between like 15 and 18, I did like all of my growing. So I was like pretty much
developed.
Yeah, as I am now. I won't mind going a little bit more, but I don't think that's going to happen now. So by like 18, I was pretty much physically as I am now. So I think I was capable of holding my own against some bigger older men. Yeah.
So that season you had a few injuries as well, didn't you? What's it like when, like I said, you've just broken through into the first team, everything's going so well and you get hit with setbacks? How hard are those to deal with, like mentally and physically?
Yeah, they're frustrating injuries. I think the way that the way that we play, the way that I play as a player, it's very tough to avoid them. And I think at a young age, you just want to do everything. Do you know what I mean? Everything's 100%. Like I want to train every minute and then more. I want to play the game.
I can imagine as well, like when you got an injury, you want to rush yourself back, and sometimes that can even set you back even more because you're pushing yourself when you're not ready, and that can sometimes do longer term damage.
I've pretty much done that. Like I can't remember it was last year. I've pretty much done exactly that. Like wanted to get back in so much that
it's not helped you.
Quick, and it's just made things worse.
Do you think the older you get though, that just comes with maturity and knowing your body and understanding when is the right time, and even like for example when you got big games and you want to play, sometimes like even though you really want to be in that squad, you've just got to sit back and be like, do you know what, I'd rather miss one game than 5 games?
100%, yeah. I've noticed or looked at the older senior players more, and if you look at that in more detail, like they know when to push and when to train hard and when to just.
What players through the 3 years that you've been in the senior squad? Obviously, you said you look up to Pablo. What players have sort of like taken their arm over your shoulder and like guided you along the way?
Well, regarding that sort of thing, like injuries and stuff, and advice on that sort of thing, Barry Douglas, who's on loan at the moment at Blackburn, he definitely helped. He put an arm around times and just said, I know you're young and you want to, but just think it'll come with age, but just think what's best for your body. So in that area, and others like he's into like yoga and that sort of thing.
Do you know what? Yoga is fantastic. When I was younger, I always looked down and it's like a little girly thing. I don't really want to be doing any of that. However, like for me, like fighting especially, like your flexibility has got to be massive. So on point. Like it's the same for football, and yoga and stretching is so important, and it's not easy. It's so difficult.
I was exactly the same. I just think yoga, you're right. Like it's not for me. Like no need, but it's so important. Probably like a year and a half now. I've been doing it near enough every day. Maybe not the odd day, but near enough every day.
That's pretty good. Is it something that you do in your own sort of time, or is it something that do you have team yoga sessions?
We have not so much yoga, but like we stretch together as a team.
Yeah.
Before or after sessions and that sort of thing, but not so much yoga. No, that's something that's my own time.
Yeah. So in that season, I'd love to know what was it like going through the heartbreak of being so close to being promoted. Obviously, you were top of the table and then slowly slipped under, and you even played the full 90 minutes in the semi-final defeat against Derby. What was that season like for you towards the end?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Quite sounds cringy, but it was heartbreaking. I was in and out of the team throughout that season in my first year with the first team, and then I think there was an injury in the first leg away at Derby. So I came on about 20 minutes in and played the rest of that game. It was 1-0 up, we played well. And then obviously in the reverse leg a couple of days later, we started well, playing well, went 1-0 up, so 2-0 on aggregate, and then things just didn't go our way that night, or especially the second half. They came back and they managed to score 4 goals, and it was a great result for them. But the way that we went about them 2 games, and the way it happened,
I couldn't imagine it would have been nice. I literally went to a box in Henley with my mate Sam, and obviously, like I said, went 1-0 up, and everyone, I can imagine you guys probably had the same feeling as a team. You kind of thought that the job was done almost, and I think that was the worst part. I think the fact that you went 2-0 up and it was just such a sucker punch, and also as well, all the stigmas about Leeds they always flop it. That was something that was always at the back of loads of fans' mind. But did that sort of play on any mentality, like on the mentality of the other players?
Not me personally. No, I wouldn't say that. Obviously, you hear the chants and you hear like the sayings and stuff like that. But for me personally, no, it was just go about.
It's just a football game.
Yeah, it's just a football game. Go and try and win it. But I think, like you said, the way we lost, I think you'd rather lost like 3-0. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just not really ever been in the tie rather than that. But these things happen, and ultimately it's.
Do you think that moment, that game, that experience, has helped like push you on for other games in the future? Because obviously, like it's a learning experience at the end of the day. The feeling of having such a low like that, it's in the back of your mind. You don't ever want that to happen again. So, and you even seen it in the season after. You guys had the fire and you won the league again. What was that championship season like for you? The one that you won, especially as a Leeds fan. Like, did you feel like there was a lot more pressure on that season than the season before?
I don't know, not so much pressure. Obviously after that first season we were more like favourites, if you like, to do well again. that first season was a big shock. No one knew what to expect, and we got ourselves up there and in the mix. But the second season, I guess people were more like, yeah, Leeds should do well this year, and we did. We sort of lived up to that expectation. Got ourselves up there and up at the top of the league. But then obviously there was the break with.
Yeah, because you were on a really good run before that as well, and then the momentum just gets taken away from you. And like we were talking about before, with no fans, there was no extra support. There was the 12th man wasn't there to help edge you on. What was that like when you were getting to those final games, or even the final game when you'd done it, you secured promotion, but there were no fans there? Was it like a bittersweet moment, even as a Leeds fan, because this whole team and the whole club were obviously buzzing. Lewis, would you mind, please? Thank you. The whole team was buzzing, but obviously, like, there's no fans, so the whole enjoyment, even as a Leeds fan, was kind of sucked out of it. What was it like?
I think bittersweet is probably the perfect way to put it. Like, it's just obviously one of the biggest moments in recent history for the club, and people still enjoyed it, and you saw loads of people go down to the stadium and into Millennium Square. I
was so annoyed because obviously my family's all in Malta, so I think I'd had my flight booked for at least 3-4 months, and you guys literally secured promotion the day I flew out. So I missed the whole party. I missed everyone. Like my mate Chris, obviously diehard Leeds fan. He was at the ground, and those scenes were unbelievable. What was it like as well? Because obviously at that time when everything was still in the public eye, everything was still very locked down, and then you kind of did get a bit of backlash for all the fans coming to the ground. But what was that feeling like? Even though away from all that bullshit, what was it actually like to still, even though there weren't no fans in the stadium, you still got to celebrate with everyone?
To be fair, we didn't really know, like.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't planned, but you couldn't have stopped it. It weren't going to be stopped.
We was at like the stadium watching the game, the West Brom game, which they lost, which meant we went up. We just said, we'll all go to the stadium and watch it together, and obviously that happened. Westfield won, and we managed to go up. So we was all just inside the stadium watching it, and then obviously that happened. We celebrated, but no one was to know. We was kind of there, and then the next thing, we went to like the outside. There's like windows along the side, and looked, and there was just like
everyone there
rammed. Just couldn't even see like the pavement. It was just people full.
Unbelievable atmosphere. I could have imagined. Would that say that's your proudest moment so far as a Leeds player?
Yeah, get promotion. Yeah.
So what's it like? 21 years old, and now you're making your debut at Anfield, your Premier League debut at Anfield. What was that like? Obviously the result didn't go the way you wanted it, but that was like the first glimpse when I think a lot of people realised like you gave such a tough fight, and that's when people realised, well, at least me, Leeds are going to be a tough team to beat. They're not going to be a walkover team this season, and I think a lot of people took eye to that. What was that first game for you like, making your debut?
Yeah, I came on about 15 minutes to go. It's one of those, like, it's the same with every sort of achievement that I've had at the time. Like, it's just the game, like I was going on. It's only after that you realise, like, that was like a Premier League debut. That's a big deal. But at the time, it's just you're that sort of
zoned in.
Yeah, it's not like you don't think that on the touchline.
It's a good way. It's a good way to be, because I can imagine if you did think so many external thoughts, you'd definitely have a lot more pressure on yourself.
Definitely. It is a very good way to be. I think that's just how my body works and how I go about it. It's just after that I realise what's happened and the importance of certain games.
How important for you is it to have a close circle around you? Because I can imagine 21 on a probably decent contract, Premier League footballer. I can imagine in any way, for any celebrity, or not even a celebrity, any professional who's in the limelight, if you like, there's always going to be people out there that probably wanted to be close to you for the wrong reasons. How do you deal with that?
I think I know I've got my family, and obviously that they're never going to change, and they're absolutely spot on. And then I've got a very close, tight bunch of friends. So I've got 4, I'd say, best mates, and they've been my best mates since probably as long as I've known Amelia, like year 7. So
it's like people that you can trust. That's an important thing.
yeah, and I don't really think anybody will come in and out of that group now. Do you know what I mean? Like probably for the rest of my life. I hope anyway.
Well, that's a good thing. Who would you say? Obviously, you've only started 3 games so far in the Premier League. It is 3 games, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
And you've come on off the bench a few times. Who would you say is the most skillful player you've played against so far?
Skillful or difficult?
Both.
Skillful player I've played against was probably in the Championship. Was probably Bielsa.
Yannick Bolasie.
Played right back against him once and was doing some mad tricks. I was like, not bad. Very good. Might have got by me a couple of times.
He's still in the Championship, isn't he? He's at Middlesbrough, I think.
Is that? Yeah. I knew it was there. He's still Middlesbrough. But best, you'll like this, Rashford.
Come on, he is for his age again, 22. Like there's only like a year between you two, and the level that he's at. I think I saw a stat that for his age he scored more goals than Rooney and Ronaldo did at their age.
People just don't like put him on that level though, do they? Like for me he's.
And the crazy thing is, obviously I watch him all the time, but Lewis and Tom, you'll agree that he looks like he's injured half the time at least. So if you can imagine playing through injuries if he's that good, and yeah, I do appreciate Rashford being the best you played against though.
Very, very difficult to play against him.
So a bit of an opinionated opinion I'm going to ask you on. What do you think of VAR? Because obviously, like I feel like there's been a few decisions in the last few weeks that have been crazy, to be honest. Like the West Brom one when I don't know who it was, but clearly onside and the guy's giving it offside. I don't know what you think about the McTominay Son challenge, but a lot of people thought that shouldn't have been given a foul either. But it seems like every week there's almost something that's clear and obvious, funnily enough, that shouldn't have been given or should have been given.
Yeah, I think before it, I think everyone wanted something like that, do you know what I mean? But it hasn't been so popular once it has come in. I think the only thing I think it kills, or the worst thing about it, is the fact if there's a goal,
the uncertainty of not being able to celebrate properly.
Like, if you celebrate properly and it doesn't count, it's like, do you know what I mean? All that emotion comes rushing out when a goal is scored for fans and also players. Then just have it wiped off, or not to celebrate because you think it might be close for offside, onside.
Especially like the fine details that they've been going through, especially with the offside decisions, it's killing the game, to be honest. Like again, I was one of the people that said, "Oh, do you know what? VAR is definitely something that should be implemented into the game." But I really think it's ruined the game, to be honest. And it comes down to the point of, is it the people in charge of VAR that are the ones that need changing? But the way I see it, my opinion is, I think referees should have to have post-match interviews. I don't see why referees can stick behind and hide behind their association, make these decisions, and basically, even like in the West Brom decision, the other game, still basically having a bullshit argument for why they made that decision instead of actually coming out and being put on the spot. Especially when footballers and managers, they're put on the spot, and even in times when they've got an opinion on a refereeing decision, they could get a fine or a ban from the FA. So the way I see it, VAR is probably never going to go, like they can't really get rid of it. But if it were up to me, I think VAR should be scrapped. I think the amount of mistakes they've made is probably the same as human error. And like you said, it goes back to the pace of the game and celebrating a goal, but like not being able to know whether it's real or not. It takes out so much of the emotion out of it. I don't really.
No, I agree.
It's hard.
It's like, I think that they kind of have to, because there's so much on the line, like between winning and losing game in the Premier League. you know, the monies and everything involved, it's off the scale. So I think that's why they're bought in, because they think like if things are that tight and it can go one way or the other, then you know we sort of have to have it spot on. But like you say, there's bits that, in my opinion, could be made.
I think with the amount of money that there is in technology as well, I don't see why they don't try and implement a system with Hawkeye for offsides. And I'm just a fucking student that's literally just sat here chatting shit. Do you know what I mean? I don't see how people at the top of the game haven't thought about something like that. Like, again, it just goes back to there's been too many things that have been blown out of proportion and been zoomed in for the fine details, when it's just like what happened to also giving, like, for example, the attackers the benefit of the doubt as well when it's so close? Why not just let the flow of the game actually roll? But
I was the same as you. Before it, I was like, they do need to do something here to get these decisions right. But when they're that tight, like, and it's, you know, we've been on the end of a few this season that have ruled out goals, and it's just like.
What's the club? Obviously, I know you probably don't speak for the club, but what's the inside of the club feeling about VAR? What do they see to it? Because I feel like a lot of clubs have started to turn against it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm only on the players thing, and probably a lot feel similar to me, but it's kind of like we're not going to be able to change it, so just get on with it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We just have to carry on playing football, and you know, let that sort of thing, leave it down to.
Do you just play the game? Yeah, sort of thing. So to close off, I'm interested to know, what are your footballing goals? Like, when you eventually do hang up your boots, what are the things that you'd like to have achieved in that time?
To have as many Premier League appearances as possible. Hopefully, you know, that's with Leeds, and Leeds stay in the Premier League now for as long as is possible, because that's, you know, where I think
the foundations have definitely been set now. Like, I can't see Leeds ever, well, not ever, but I can't see them being relegated for a long while at least.
Hopefully not. Like I say, hopefully Premier League football, Leeds, and plenty of appearances and a few goals. Can't turn down a few goals.
A few goals, not too bad. As a midfielder, what do you prefer, goals or assists?
I think I don't know. I think
yeah.
If they say the first assist to goals,
it's the glory is just your own.
Exactly. Assist is nice, but I think anyone on the pitch is like, if they said they wouldn't rather score a goal.
And what about playing for the national team? Obviously, you've had not that many, but you've had a few youth England appearances. Is that something that obviously you'd like to improve on as well?
Yeah, so I've played for the under-20s 3-4 times.
What was that experience like?
Good. You know, played with some top players at top clubs, but that's what it is, really. It's the best players. The best
of the best about.
Of your age, all together. So played with and trained with some brilliant players. And obviously the next step is to get into the under 21s, which again is even better quality. You know, the players in there are a step up from 20s, obviously. So that's the next challenge for myself to play well enough at club level to get me into that group, and then up from there.
Make the break. Well, Jamie, have you guys got any questions?
Off the top of my head now.
I don't think so.
Honestly, mate, I really appreciate you coming on. Like,
No bother.
You have no idea how much it means to me, and you didn't have to come on, so I really do appreciate it, man.
No bother. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
My guy.
Cheers,
Thank you, bro. That's a wrap.